All right. You know, I was like, what would you call me?
Doctor.
I don't think so.
Doctor.
I do a lot of overheads with people. I mean, you know, people come over, and I do overhead sets with them. You know, and I'm always borrowing their engine, and I'm always borrowing their engine with them and stuff. And I'm pulling on their engines. You know, it takes a lot of force. You know, but every time I do my overhead, or the last time I did my overhead, which was at 890,000 or so, I was borrowing my engine, and it was just like, and I had just got done doing somebody else's engine that had like maybe 450, 500K miles. And then I just, right after theirs, I came over and I could turn my motor. It was so easy to turn, I could almost turn it with my hands. I mean, it was scary. And I thought, you know, of course everything's loose now, but I thought my engine was like, whoa, this is worn out so bad because it's so easy to turn my motor compared to the other guy. And I just thought it was completely worn out, really. I did. I really thought it was just, you know, no compression, just slap wore out. And I, because I'd never had it apart. I didn't know. But you said something very significant. When you looked at this piston, when we pulled this piston out and we looked at it, there is zero carbon, zero buildup, zero packing. It's perfectly clean. I mean, it's insane how clean that piston is down the side and how good the rings and everything are. How sharp are the rings? You know, that's another one. How sharp the top edge of that ring is. Is it? It's not sharp. It's not sharpened out. It's still nice and, yeah, it's actually rounded off still. I mean, you can really.
When we looked at them liners and saw the cross
hatches. Close up on that camera, on the camera on this here. I'll bring it over there. Let's get the ring off there. Take it off. Wipe it off. See if we can get a close up of that. I mean, it's not even sharp.
Yeah. When we was looking at the cross hatches in the.
It still has the. I don't know if you can get that. It still has the, you know, the dull edge from. Feel that.
Yeah. Well,
it hasn't been sharpened out.
What I was looking at is inside here.
Oh, inside?
Yeah, a lot of times when they get age on them, they'll get sharp here where they cut your finger.
Yeah.
This ring here, man.
So it's not worn. But what you said was significant because you said there's no packing. You said that it's really hard to push a piston up out of that hole because it's so packed up. So really what I was feeling when I was doing my motor is the fact that it doesn't have any of that. That's why it was so easier to turn compared to that other guy. The other guy had a soot problem in his engine.
Soot problems.
Yeah, he definitely did. I mean, I did his overhead. His whole overhead was just black. It was nasty. So I thought my engine was just worn out. Really, I did. I didn't realize that it's the opposite.
Yeah. Well, you can see here there's no soot though. They usually have soot built up on the ring.
We just pull this off. So.
Yeah. They usually have soot built up on the back of the ring, and this ring has to compress.
Yeah.
So that ring has to compress. So as it builds up, it expands. When it expands, it just causes liner wear. You ain't gonna have hash marks on it at 1 million miles. I promise you. And that's the drag on the liner. And so when you turn the motor over, you're feeling that drag. And then when we do a normal end frame, you got to beat the piston out because the drag, there's so much drag on that piston coming out. This here had.
Well, that was no good. Rawze done dropped it now.
Believe it or not, there's building shops in this country that would take and clean it up and reuse that.
No.
They would.
That's got 1 million miles on it. You're not going to reuse that.
I know you. I wouldn't either. But, you know, some of them crazy shops would.
Somebody's on their way over here to see this thing.
Yeah, I would say this. If I took this engine apart and I didn't know this guy.
What would you think?
I would think this motor had.
You never saw it, never knew that the oil was clean, never knew that anything. What would you think?
Yeah, I would think this motor had been built.
Really?
Seriously.
It's never been taken apart. 955,000 miles?
I would say this is probably 350, 400,000. The bearings is what would give it away.
The bearings give it away, yeah.
Because I would look at the date stamped on them.
The date. What's the date on that one?
7 of 09. So I know that these bearings were original bearings. They've never been out. But then I have seen where they did warranty work and they reused the bearings.
No. I wouldn't do that.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't do that. But I'm saying that, so I would say, well, maybe they reused the bearings, but I can tell you these pistons ain't 1 million mile pistons. But you've owned the truck from new.
And I babied it. I drove it 55, 57, 60 at the most. Maybe 63 if we were in a hurry. We're always light on the torque. We keep the boost down under 20 all the time on the boost gauge. Got a boost and power gauge. Anytime the power gauge, we get up to 800 or so, we back out of it, drop an extra gear going up the mountain. Now that's the power gauge is on the outside of the manifold. It's measuring heat soak, not the actual EGTs, because EGTs go up right away. You know, the heat soak is built up over 5, 10, 20-minute period. Always ran Rotella T oil. Nothing special. Always ran Rotella T, okay? Just regular Rotella T oil. I did use 1 gallon of gear lube. I used 80-90 gear lube when it was about 300,000 miles, 200,000 miles, you know. And I started using 80-90 until about 600K on the motor, 650. And then I switched over to 85 going 40 for a while. But it seemed a little thick, so I went back to the 80-90. And I've been using Stay Lube, GL4, because people said, oh, that GL5 oil, it's going to discolor the brass, it's going to eat the brass up. You know, GL5 oil is bad for brass components. So I switched back over to GL4, Stay Lube, for a while. And I didn't see any difference between GL4 and GL5. And then there was a big, you know, there was some discussion on my forum about it. So I purposefully went back to GL5 because I knew at about 700,000 or 800, between 700 and 800,000 somewhere in there, I purposely went back to GL5 just on purpose because I knew by 900 or a million I'd be taking it apart, and I wanted to see over time. I really did. So I've been running that for a couple 100,000 miles, GL5 again. In fact, the last 4 or 5 months, I actually went to Walmart and bought SuperTech 85 140 GL5. You know that cheap, yeah. It smells nasty when you open the bottle. It's so cheap. And I've been running that in my engine for about 4 months on purpose just to see if the brass was going to discolor. It did not discolor. So I've had no brass problems. I had no discoloration problems. And obviously running a gallon of gear oil is not bad for it. Yeah. And you know, there's a little bit of coating on some of the parts. It almost seems like some of the parts have a little bit of a coating on them, but not really a buildup or a discoloration. It's more like a coating. A little bit of a coating.
There's no skirt wear.
You can actually wipe this off if you wipe it. There's no skirt wear. Let's grab the camera and check that.
Skirt wear.
No skirt wear. That's which side usually gets it. Let's just check both sides.
Yeah, both sides look even.
Okay, there's none at all. Well, you got a little bit of, if you can, I mean, you just really have to, you have to really look, but you can see it. Tiny bit starting. What about the other side? And what's funny is I actually tuned this thing to 650 horsepower at one point and had ran it for several months that way. But most of its life it ran 575 horsepower. It's originally from the factory, it's 435 ST, and I put 575 in it, and most of its life it's run 575 horsepower. But like I say, we drive it very gently. Wow. So
it's unreal. There's the old spanner ring.
That's the spanner ring? What does that usually look like after
They usually have a lot of soot, because this is the oil ring. And usually the oil has soot, so
yeah.
It's going to...
Well, we haven't cleaned any of this. We just pulled it out.
That's where it's going to get it from.
And this was the dirtiest piston.
Yeah, that's what's amazing. Is this.
Yeah, the other ones are probably going to be cleaner.
So there's no soot in there at all.
Wow, look at that. I can see that through the camera. That looks like a new ring.
I mean, usually these are carboned up. I wish I had another engine here. We've gotten rid of a lot of stuff, so.
I mean, you can see some carbon on the top of it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think that was the coolant that was really just getting it. This is, like I say, this was the worst piston, so. Amazing. That is amazing.